Come on, come on, come on, come on now, touch me, babe. And you see that I am not afraid. What was that promise that you made? Bum, bum. Da, 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 she said, bum, ba, bum, bum, da, 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 bum, 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 da, da. I'm gonna love you till the heavens start. I'm gonna love you till the stars fall from the sky. For you and I. Hi. Too much incense smoke down here. I don't know what I was thinking. Yeah. I never know what I'm thinking. Welcome to the final 31 days of Halloween. We're a little late. It's November 4th. I don't think there's anything significant happening today. But yeah, you know, here we are, man. And it's package time. Okay. Before we even get started, I got 10 movies to get through. Before we even get to those, we got to talk about packages, baby. That's right. We got to find out what's in the box. Okay. I got some packages delivered. Some are gifts. Others were things that were ordered. This first one comes from a buddy we've had on the show. This is number 22 of 50. I'm guessing 22 of 50 means that it's limited to 50. And you may remember the guest we had on. How do I open this thing? I got to figure this out. I think there's a mechanism here. Oh, maybe it's just tape. Tape is the mechanism. Yeah, so my final watch count was 32 or 33 movies, which is kind of low. This was a hard season for me, man. I was not into it. I was just not into it. And I meant to do this video yesterday. I was exhausted. Went for a walk. I was doing a fast too. I did a 24-hour. I've been getting into these like 24-hour fasts. Really enjoy doing it. It's just a really great way to bring some equilibrium. Oh, there it is. It's open. Okay, let's see what's inside. Enough stalling. See what's inside this beautiful boom tube here. Man, posters are always difficult. Oh boy. What did we get from our buddy Larry the Wolf, by the way, sent this. Larry the Wolf from the band The Manimals. We had Larry on twice. He was part of a KISS panel we did, and we had him on for an interview before that. And and he sent some goodies. He sent some nice paper. Oh, wow, look at this. Certificate of Authenticity. Yeah, baby. On August 17th, 2024, the Manimals made their return to the stage for the first time in over a decade, playing to a sold-out Rock and Roll Hall of Fame audience in support of Midnight, which is another band. Renowned photographer Hannah Verburen was there to document this historic event, capturing the savage shot of founding member Larry the Wolf. To commemorate this very special night, the Triple Leo Music LLC has produced a limited run of Gickley fine art prints. These are strictly limited to 50 pieces plus 5 artistic proofs. Each numbered print is accompanied by a certificate of authenticity signed by Larry the Wolf and Verburen, making this a very special piece of Cleveland and music history. And this is 22 of 50. This is so nice. Look at this. How beautiful is that, man? Thank you, Larry. Thank you, buddy. This is so nice. I got to get this framed. Whoa. Look at this. Shot of the Wolf Man himself. Look at that. Larry the fucking Wolf, dude. I'm glad that they got back together for a very special show. I wish I could have seen that. I've never seen the Manimals live. It'd be a lot of fun. Oh, and he sent posters. Look at this. Look at this amazing Manimals poster. Got to get that framed. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame supporting Midnight. Supporting that. That is really cool. Really nice. And then what else is this? Another one. Oh, another shot of the Manimals. Burn, Witch, burn. Very nice. Larry, thank you so much. I got to write him an email. I emailed Larry when Ace Frehley died. I actually emailed Larry and, sent my condolences because Larry is just a ginormous Kiss fan. The dude loves Kiss, and it just felt like the right thing to do. I thought of Larry when Ace Frehley died. It's funny. I saw Ace Frehley this year. I saw him. I saw him in Newark Airport. He was flying out somewhere. It was just him. He was by himself with just a guy. And as I walked by him, I sort of sang a little bit of Keeping the New York Groove. I didn't say anything to him, but I always walked by him, and I told a few people about it who would find it to be amusing. Larry, this was very nice. Thank you. Thank you. And Larry, I hope to have Larry and some other people back. We need to do another Kiss panel talking about highlighting the great career of the Space Ace and whatnot. It's something I would like to do. Okay, so that's the first package. Next, we got something. I don't know what's in here. I don't know what's in this one. I mean, I do know what's in this one. I'm lying to you. I do know it's not a mystery. This one ain't a mystery to me, baby. Not to me. What's inside? What's in this package? Oh, that snaps open so nice. This is from the Pixies. The Pixies didn't send this to me. I ordered this from the Pixies. I wish I knew the Pixies like that. That was sent by Larry. It was a very nice gift. Larry is very generous. This I had to purchase, and it was well worth every penny. Looking forward to this. I got to take off the glasses for this one because let's see. Oh, it's so beautiful. Oh man, that is nice. What is it about the endorphins that I get from opening records? I friggin' love it, man. I love it. So this right here is the purple tape, baby. This is the purple tape. It's also known as the demos. It's known colloquially as the purple tape. And it says right here, the legendary purple tapes, the first ever Pixies recordings from 1987, officially reissued with new artwork and liner notes. And this is a purple and black color in color LP. A sketch of the, God, I can't read shit. A sketch. Wow, I can't read that fucking word. And it's not because I don't know what that word is. My eyes are so bad. Look at this. I'm actually turning on my light. That's the first time I've ever done that. A sketch of an unvarnished, restless band coolly bashing out its world domination plan. Rolling Stone 2002. That's a great quote. That's a really great quote. So a little history about this record. I could tell you right off my top of my noggin, okay? The Pixies, who have not recorded anything. Black Francis recorded for Gary Smith on the acoustic guitar some incredibly loose sketches, if the demo to the demo of just how he wanted, what the songs were, how they should go before they went into Fort Apache Studios in Boston to record 17 songs, I believe it was. They recorded 17 songs, and it was just a demo. That's it. I forget how it got into the hands of Ivo Watts Russell, I believe was the name. But lo and behold, come on, where's my thumbnail? Be a useful thumbnail. There we go. My thumbnail is so long. I got a nice little talon right there, talon of steel, if you will. Ivo Watts Russell. He's the guy from 4AD, which is a label in England. And he heard the Purple Tape. The Purple Tape was like 17 songs or 16 songs. And they picked 8 of those songs and released it as Come On Pilgrim. The remainder of the songs kind of languished in obscurity. And then eventually the Purple Tape was released on CD, like the full Purple Tape. This, however, is not the other songs that make up Come On Pilgrim. This is just the songs that were left off, so it's 8. There's 8 tracks on here. There's about 8 songs on here. Kind of bothers me that they didn't do the full record along with Come On Pilgrim. I feel like that would have been the proper thing to do. Still, there are some great versions that they would then re-record. Some of these songs would get re-recorded. Some of them wouldn't get re-recorded until like one song made it, one of their earliest tracks, Down to the Well, eventually got recorded onto Bossa Nova, which was their 3rd LP, and their 4th LP, which with Subculture, which is originally from the Purple Tape. And then you have songs like Build High, which was recorded during the Doolittle sessions, and that never got any release. That was just a B-side, right? But originally, god damn this freaking thing. But originally, it all comes from the Purple Tape. I am a big fan of this recording. You know, there's something that's very special to me. I love polished records too. I was talking with a friend at work the other day about Bruce Springsteen. I'm not a Springsteen guy at all, but I was very excited for them because they got the Electric Nebraska, which is like some legendary lost Springsteen performance. And so this is like the closest thing for me. I'm waiting. We're waiting. Electric. Okay, let me see if I could read this too. I feel like this is worth reading as well. I'll probably clip this up into a Pixies video anyway. So let's just read it real quick for you. He didn't have to wait long, though. 8 of the... Oh, oops. That's the wrong side. My bad. Oh, here we go. This is kind of bullshit that the liner notes are written this way. I feel like it would have been better to have written them a different way. I'm going to read this real quick. Or maybe I shouldn't read this. This is so long. Shit. All right, I can't. Wow, I have no idea how to read this because it doesn't really show. He didn't wait long though. 8 of the demo songs made it to the band. Yeah, talks about it there. I don't know. I don't friggin' know. I ain't gonna worry about it. Can't worry about it now. We got way too much to do. As much as I want to read this. Oh, is that beautiful? Oh, baby. Look at that. Oh, is that orgasmic to look at? To me, this is orgasmic. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful record. I mean, I don't know. I haven't listened to it, but I mean, I've been listening to these songs for 20-something years now, and there was no way that I wasn't going to own them. I mean, I'm a sucker. I am a sucker for this sort of stuff. You know, I'm a sucker. I wish I could read the liner notes for you. I just can't. I'm kind of lost. I don't know where they begin. Initially, it's so weird. It's like it doesn't fuck it. After writing new material and rehearsing through 86, playing occasionally small venue shows in Boston, the Pixies decided to record a demo tape. In this, they were assisted by a local producer called Gary Smith, who I just mentioned, who saw them play with the Rhode Island band, the Throwing Muses, who were kind of like a sister band, right? And I can't do this all right now. As much as I want to read it, I just can't. Forget it. Forget it. We have one more unboxing to do. The last unboxing I have here. Oh boy, I am so excited to listen to this. So this is a movie that this is officially the most amount of money I've ever spent on a single movie, I think, or it's tied up there with the Dawn of the Dead box set. And it's a movie that means a lot to me. I got it from Umbrella. So for anybody who collects movies or Blu-rays, I'm like, here's the thing about me and my Blu-ray collection. I'm sort of like I'm a real snob now. I'm really, really, really selective. I don't just, it's not like the year is 2005 and I'm like, oh boy, I need the Wedding Crashers on DVD. No, I'm very careful about what goes into my Blu-ray collection. Very, very, very curated. I don't just buy anything. There are various factors that will lead me to buy something. Sometimes if it has some really interesting bonus features, I'll buy it. Sometimes I love a movie so much that I already own it in some special edition way, and I need to purchase it again because it has some extra features, and I just want to learn more about the movie, and I like the artwork. And so this is where I'm really like particular. Like I'll own any copy of a record. I'm like, oh, great, it's on black vinyl. I'm glad to have it, though I do love colored vinyl as well. Who doesn't? But like that's not something that is sacred to me. Like if I see that something only has 300 copies versus something that has 500 copies, I'll probably go with the 300 copies thing. But like I'm just happy to have a copy. But when it comes to this stuff, this is where I'm like, I'm just like I'm a fanatic. I'm a fanatic. Case in point, been waiting for this. I have been waiting for this to come out for a really, really long time. And I've been putting off watching the movie. So I had the movie on DVD and I lost the second disc. I lost the second disc all the way back in 2012 when I was on tour with Blitzkid. And the first disc, the movie disc. I had the bonus feature disc. And I basically have been waiting to rewatch this movie. I mean, it's been over 15 years. Has to be over 15 years. I don't remember when I bought that DVD, that special edition DVD. It was a long time ago, and I had watched it once, and then I brought it on the road with me, a bunch of other movies. I lost the whole binder full of movies and whatnot. And I said, I'm going to wait until this movie comes out on Blu-ray before I decide to watch it again, much in the same way that I'm waiting for Bad Taste, Dead Alive, and Meet the Feebles, which are my single most anticipated. The last time I watched Meet the Feebles was probably about 5 years ago. Haven't seen Dead Alive since 2016, and I couldn't tell you the last time I watched Bad Taste. And I've just been waiting and waiting and waiting, right? And this movie is no different. It's called Freaked, written and directed by Alex Winter, right? Bill from Bill and Ted, who's now currently reunited with Keanu on Broadway for Waiting for Godot. They're doing Broadway together. And this is one of the sickest sets I've ever seen for a singular film. Again, the only one that I could think that compares to it, at least something that I'm interested in, has to be the Dawn of the Dead box set that came from Second Sight. So important was that release that I actually bought a region-free player just so that I could watch it. So not only did I spend an ungodly, ugly amount of money on the movie itself, but I then went and purchased a player that could play it, and I'm very glad I did. And it's great. I needed a new player anyway. And so here we go. Let's open this bad boy up. I don't even know what half of these things are. I saw it. I was like, this is fucking robbery. It had to ship from Australia. And so you can imagine with the tariffs and everything, like how much it was. It was not cheap. Only 10,000 units made. I mean, that doesn't really matter anymore, but it used to be a big deal, like limited to this many units. That was like crack cocaine for any physical media collector. And so just to see that this is number 714 out of 10,000 is intoxicating to me right now. It's just like these things that nobody else would care about. But you know what? I fucking care, man. I care. And there's nothing special about the plastic wrap. So we're just going to jettison that because we don't need it. And what is this? Okay, this is flattened, which is kind of annoying. First, we have like an envelope. A lot of milkmen on the same route. No wonder they fight. Elijah C. Scuggs, who's played by the brilliant Randy Quaid. This got a little crushed. This is a little flattened. I'm not happy about that, but I'm not gonna. What am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? Opening this up very carefully to see what's inside. What the fuck is this? It's a canvas. No wonder. Oh my God. This isn't even made out of paper. This is made out of canvas. Oh, is this a poster? Oh. Oh my God. Is that fucking amazing? Sorry. I'm so happy right now. Look at that. It's the poster, but it's made out of fucking canvas, baby. It's canvas. Oh my God. I suddenly, like, I didn't realize that I need all posters to be made out of canvas. Like, oh my God. Oh my God. This is fucking delicious right now. This is so beautiful. Oh my God. It came in a canvas. I didn't even look at what the special features were. I just pulled the trigger. I just said, whatever this is, I need to own it. It's a movie that I've been waiting so long to watch. And so, I used to spend a lot of money just buying a couple of discs, right? So why wouldn't I spend a lot of money on a singular release that means so much to me? Because this is one of my favorite movies. I don't have like a singular favorite movie, but this would go in a list of my favorite movies for sure. And I grew up on this movie too, so it's got memory. I mean, it's got memories for me, man. So, oh my God, look at this. We got so many different booklets. So first, let's look at the new artwork. Look at this thing. It's like a fucking, oh my God. See, I want a library of books, but just to have a library of physical media is so awesome. Look at that artwork, man. Beautiful, 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 beautiful. You can't beat physical media. You really can't. It has a soul that streaming will never have. And there's some people out there who are like, oh, well, like fucking look at that box, man. And the special features are here on the back, but I'm not even going to bother reading them there. We're just going to let's just go through and see what we have, right? So we have a card that says, so you're a hideous mutant freak. Now what? See, the shame is that I have so much paraphernalia like this and just not enough space to like really frame everything. And I really should redo the basement and frame everything properly. And I should. It always comes down to finding frames for some of this stuff. So what we have here is, oh, yes, we have a comic book. Oh, this is my favorite. So Arrow used to put out comic books all the time with some of their releases, like a lot of the Brian Usna stuff. There's a Society comic book and a Reanimator comic book. Now we have a Freaked comic book, shrunk down. That is wonderful, man. I fucking love this stuff so much. This is great. This is really great. I think this is like a sequel or something. It's not. That is beautiful, baby. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. What's next? So this is the script. Oh my God. The actual script itself. Now, am I going to ever sit and read the script? Probably not. No, I'm probably not going to read the script. I don't know. Maybe I will. Maybe I'll skim through it. 100-page script. But just to have the script as a part of the set, like that's beautiful. I just like all movies that are archived in such beautiful ways, like deserve. We need to have that sort of thing. So we got a slipcase, of course, too, with the original artwork, but ugly, but funny. And here we have the 4K Ultra HD. I don't have a 4K Ultra HD player. That's okay. I'm not going to use that anyway. And then it is a 3-disc set full of features, which when I'm done here down in the basement, I'm actually going to go upstairs and fire this bad boy up and start watching some of this wonderful stuff here. Oh, and I missed something. Here is a hardcover freaky behind the scenes essays and art. So look at this, a little book. Is that not like the greatest thing you've ever seen? I mean, this is amazing. This is amazing. The Idiot Box, that was their TV show that they did. Oh, wow, look at all these photos. That is so fucking cool, man. Dude, this is so fucking awesome. Like, seriously, one of the best movies ever made. One of the best movies from the 90s. How about that? Just fan-fucking-tastic, baby. In terms of, like, let's look at what the actual bonus features are, because, oh, there's another thing. Oh, well, I'm definitely not going to fuck with these, but look at this. A sticker pack. Should I peel them off? That's always the thing. It's like, do you keep the stickers together or do you peel them off? I never know. I never know what to do, right? Like, you're supposed to keep the set whole. Do you enjoy it or do you not enjoy it? You know what I mean? You know what I mean, Chili Bean? Still, all in all, this was I would say this is definitely a value for the exorbitant amount of money that I paid for. I can't even say it out loud. I'm embarrassed. I had to own this. This was something where I would have had such a case of FOMO, you know. And again, with the fucking canvas poster. Oh my god. Oh my god. All right, what do we have here? Let's see what we have here. We have only available from the Umbrella web store. The free collector's edition includes bumper 100 pages book featuring behind the scenes new essays by Justin Beam, Whitney Siebold, and Mike Sanders, and fan art. Freak script book with custom artwork by Nicholas Baltra. Freaked original comic book, custom art. I didn't even know there was a comic book. Custom art freak stickers. So you're a hideous mutant freak. Now what? Pamphlet. Custom artwork rigid case by Thomas Nicolette. Classic poster artwork slipcase. An A3 canvas poster, and that it's a limited number of release. And then the actual features on here are, we have the 2004 audio commentary with the co-writers, co-directors Tom Stern and Alex Winter. There's a work print alternative cut. There's the rehearsal version alternative cut. The night special guests, very special people, like just a bunch of features, you know. The Butthole Surfers, Paul Leary on Freaked, a conversation with Alex Winter and FF Make. I mean, just tons of stuff. So, like, a lot of the things that were ported over from the DVD set. I mean, that is this. I have been waiting a long time for this. I am so excited. I don't know if I can show it to my son. I think he's I think I watched it when I was his age, though. Although I say that a lot as a means of feigning ignorance. Let's take a quick sponsor break before we continue on. Tonight's sponsor, as always, is Riot Stickers, baby. Riot Stickers, you can get 1,000 stickers for $79 at Riot Stickers. And the beautiful thing is these stickers are vinyl. They're 3 inches by 3 inches. They got a UV coating, and they are weatherproof and waterproof, and they protected from the sun. If you want to get some freaked artwork printed up, you go over to Sharpie Riot. Careful, you don't want to get sued by Tom Stern and Alex Winter, but you know, that's neither here nor there. Definitely check it out. RiotStickers.com.
Riot Stickers, we are the bomb. Riot Stickers, we are the bomb. RiotStickers.com. We are the bomb. Riot Stickers, we are the bomb. Riot Stickers, we are the bomb. RiotStickers.com. We are
as always, is a promise. That is a promise. Let me kill this fan real quick. All right. Let's talk about movies, shall we? Let's see what we got going on here. We're going to start here. I got my letterboxd open. Yeah, so it's funny. I was clipping up my episodes and turning them into individual videos that nobody ever watches, but I sort of stopped because I was like, this is turning into a chore. And, I mean, fuck. It's just annoying when it's a chore. Then it turns into a bore when it's a chore. Okay. So I watched this movie called 40 Acres. It came out in 2024. It's directed by R.T. Thorne. Get Off Our Land. Haley Freeman and her family are the last descendants of African-American farmers who settle in rural Canada after the Civil War. They never specify whether there was a second Civil War or this is like the original Civil War. I think it was the original Civil War. In a famine-decimated near future, they now struggle to safeguard their farm as they make one last stand against a vicious militia hell-bent on taking their 40 acres. Now, I will tell you something. You give me that kind of synopsis on anything, I will watch the fuck out of it. I mean, that is so my jam. Anything that's like kind of like that, I love stuff like that. I was frustrated with this movie. And the reason why I was frustrated with this movie, it was interesting. A few things that frustrated me. One, I just did not appreciate the world building. I felt like we needed a little bit more than what we got. Two, so the militia that they go up against are cannibals. And what I found to be frustrating was that they were just sort of really one-dimensional. There was a lot of missed opportunity to have some really interesting characters in this clan, and they just were this one-dimensional flat enemy that they just kept popping up, and they're cannibals. Even with the subtitles on it said cannibal number 1 and cannibal number 2. I just kind of wish they were fleshed out more. I wish it was more of an enemy. You know what I mean? And it came a little too, there's a lot of family drama, a lot of coming of age stuff. It's a blended family. There were the mother and father had kids before, and then he's indigenous and she's black, and they have some girls and together. So it's this ginormous sort of like Brady Bunch styled family. And and they have their farm, and I don't know, man. I was just kind of I just kind of needed more than what I was given. And the movie is long. It's nearly 2 hours, man. The running time is 2 hours. And it's just kind of like, what are you doing with this 2 hours of running time? Eventually things do turn cannibally, but it didn't turn cannibally enough for me personally. It's like when you promise cannibals, you got to deliver something, Is this movie a straight horror movie? It's not. It's not. It was in the horror section on Hulu, and that's the problem. A lot of these things. In fact, I kind of got booby trapped a little bit. I watched 2 other movies. I watched Lost River and what's it called? Like Mary something with the 4 M names. Mary Ellen something. And both of those movies were horror adjacent, but they were not horror enough. And I was counting them initially as Halloween watches and actually took them out of the running because I did not feel that they held the integrity. I let this one slide because there is some grisly cannibalism. It's just not, it just doesn't, it doesn't push the buck enough. Again, it's just like, it's about like the story that they wanted to tell. And the story that they wanted to tell was not quite that, even though that's how they chose to market it. I would say it's a family drama before it's even a sort of dystopian, post-apocalyptic type deal, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that it's marketed the other way around, which I found to be a little frustrating. And by the time we get to the end, they're going up against this enemy, and there don't really seem to be any stakes, and we don't really get to know their neighbors. And there's this, there are all these farms, and the farms are slowly dying off one by one, and we don't know why they're dying off. It's obviously because there's a wave of cannibals coming. And it kind of reminded me a little bit of that zombie show, Z Nation, where they talked about like the wave of it was kind of like the tidal wave of zombies or something. I wish I had finished that show, and I never did. I kind of regret that, but that's neither here nor there. Would I recommend this movie? Yeah. I think I was a little generous in giving it 3 stars, maybe 2.5 stars. It was okay. Frankly, I would have been kind of interesting to see Spike Lee if Spike Lee had made this movie. That would have been a little more interesting. You could tell that there was some of that in there. And that stuff was good, but like there were just other aspects that were not, like the fact that it didn't know how to balance the action and the action and the horror with the family drama, while, clearly presenting itself as this, post-apocalyptic horror film. And yeah, that's all I have to say about that. Moving on. Next, we have Kill Your Lover. I found this on Amazon Prime, directed by Alex Austin and Keir Seward. And I have a feeling that they are a couple. They're partners, or a couple, or a married couple. A toxic relationship body horror with a punk edge. The punk stuff is really shoehorned in here. These people did not feel like punk rockers to me. They were being presented as punk rockers. They just did not feel like they were punk rockers. In fact, Dakota, the female lead, she has a punk rock band, and it just feels very shoehorned into the situation. It's a contained film within like an apartment, which I did appreciate it. You could tell it was made on a low budget, but it ultimately just didn't go where I was kind of hoping that it would go. A lot of on the surface metaphors, there was, trying to think, just about, your partner being a monster and, trying to break it off and trying to break off a toxic relationship when it's literally toxic, and then they make you toxic because they're toxic, that whole trip. When Dakota tries to break off her toxic relationship with Axel, it starts transforming him into a monstrous creature. We never really understand why or how he's being transformed into a creature. He gradually succumbs to the poison of the decaying relationship. That's what it is. It's like a metaphor that really gets translated into what feels like it's supposed to be the real world, right? He gradually succumbs to the poison of the decaying relationship, becoming a creature with increased aggression, a touch that melts skin, and worst of all, he is contagious. And of course, he passes on his affliction to her. And it ends in quite a bloody climax. It was interesting. I would definitely recommend it. I would definitely recommend it to filmmakers, especially low-budget filmmakers who are looking for inspiration on how to execute an idea. And, I gave it 2.5 stars, but I think it actually kind of deserves 3 stars. I think it deserves 3 stars. That was a little, maybe that was a little harsh at the time. Maybe it was just because it didn't go where I was kind of hoping that it would go. The rules of because he's like a metaphorical monster, kind of reminded me of Tales from the Hood. Remember David Alan Grier in Tales from the Hood, where he's like a monster, but he's kind of like a metaphor too. It was kind of like one of those types of situations. And it was interesting enough. It's short. It's 78 minutes. So if you're looking for a nice quick watch, there you go. Yeah, baby. Kill Your Lover. All right. Up next. Oh, boy. This is a favorite. I haven't seen Shakma in so very long. Shakma from 1990, directed by Hugh Parks, a murderous baboon escapes from a laboratory and roams the research building and begins to kill some teenagers who are also in the building playing a Dungeons and Dragons type game. And you have Roddy McDowell in it. Christopher Atkins is in it. And that's all that is really in it. Basically, you have this baboon named Shakma. It's never explained why he's called Shakma. He's just Shakma. Now, the origins for me and Shakma and I go way back. So I saw Shakma at some time. I saw Shakma sometime in the 90s. My friend was sleeping over at my house, and we were watching USA Up All Night or something, and we caught this movie maybe 2/3 of the way through, and we were just like, what the fuck is this movie? And it's like, it's that time in your life where you're kind of like Beavis and Butthead. I don't know if everybody is kind of like Beavis and Butthead. Just when you're adolescents, where like you just look at ridiculous things, and you're just kind of like, again, I don't know that that's everybody's experience, but we would always just kind of get off on just goofy sort of stuff like Shakma. We couldn't understand how this small monkey was so threatening to these people in this building. He's like this tiny little monkey. He's like 3 feet tall, but boy, does he pack a punch. And Shakma is a bad monkey. He is a very, very bad monkey. Just a naughty, naughty monkey. And he murders like 5 or 6 people. They're putting Shakma to sleep. Christopher Atkins is supposed to, and he basically he can't bear to put Shakma to sleep. So he gives he shifts the responsibility onto his coworker, and his coworker is distracted and injects Shakma with something that makes Shakma really, really grumpy. And Shakma, of course, doesn't die. And he just wanders around the building, violently humping doors, getting really mad, wearing like this bamboo fur coat. He's got his dick hanging out. It's just great. At one point, he's tying his shoe and he's not even wearing any shoes. And that's like what we would just sort of like goof on growing up. And I mean, those are the most beautiful memories I have of like discovering movies. You're just channel surfing on, network cable or whatever. And all of a sudden you come across some strange movie. You don't know what it is. Maybe you don't have the TV guide around, and you just go with it. You go with it because there's nothing else on, and you just want to see where the movie is going to go. And that's how you find out stuff. And so much of my media literacy, so much of my cinematic literacy comes from doing that very thing. And so I saw that Shakma was on Tubi, and I was like, man, it has been decades since I watched Shakma, and it did not disappoint. And just melodramatic, and they're playing Dungeons and Dragons in like a hospital. It's so weird. It's so friggin' weird. And there's like this weird sexual like vibe going on between Roddy McDowell and this other guy, and Roddy McDowell, who, let me tell you, if Roddy McDowell had written a book, if he had written a memoir, it would have been the best, juiciest memoir, because he was just this incredible, charismatic, queer man in Hollywood who just knew everything. He knew all the stuff. He knew all of it. He had the goods. And I think he took a lot of those goods to the grave. Like, he knew things, and he's just great. Any movie that has Roddy McDowell, I will watch it. I love him obviously he's in Fright Night. Obviously he's in Fright Night, but he's also Cornelius in Planet of the Apes. So, he's in a lot of stuff. But I love Roddy McDowell to death. It kind of upsets me that we never got a proper Roddy McDowell, Vincent Price team up. That would have been nice. In fact, imagine a Shakma movie that starred both Vincent Price and Roddy McDowell. That would have been great. Vincent Price was still working in the late 80s. He was in From a Whisper to a Scream. He was in Dead Heat. And of course he was in Edward Scissorhands. So, he was still doing stuff here and there, even though he was old, decrepit, and feeble. I don't know how many movies Roddy McDowall starred in, but yeah, Shakma's crazy. Shakma kills everybody because he's just a crazy bastard. The way that Shakma basically Hansel and Gretel's the guy Hansel and Gretel's Shakma, the kid, the main kid played by Christopher Atkins, he lures him into a friggin' oven and then cremates him, and it's just so grisly, man. It's a really great finish to the movie. Spoilers if you haven't seen it. Of course you've seen it. Who hasn't seen Shakma? I fucking love Shakma, dude. He's just such an evil monkey, man. He's an evil, evil monkey man. Evil monkey man. All right, that's Shakma. Up next, we have, okay. Now, I talk about this all the time. And you know what? I need another seltzer, man. My mouth is a little dry. My throat is a little dry. So I'm going to do something that I haven't done in a very long time. I'm going to tell you about the Patreon, and I'll be. Hey. Oh, shit. That was too quick.
Hey, guys, what's going on? It's Jeff. So I've decided to make a Patreon. What is Patreon? I don't know how to define a Patreon. Let me look it up. Patreon is a membership platform that makes it very easy for creators to get paid for the things that they're already creating. I want to do it full time. I want this to be my full-time job. In my efforts to make that happen, I've set up this platform. Is it going to work? Is it going to be successful? I don't know, but I would rather try and crash and burn than not try at all. The goal is to create enough passive revenue so that I can continue to do this full-time, uninterrupted. Why? Because I love to do this. I love creating content. I love making videos. I love shooting films. I love doing podcasts. In case you couldn't tell, I love to talk and I never shut the fuck up. So right now I've kept the Patreon incredibly simple. There's 2 tiers, and that may change in the future. The Murdergram is a simple way to extend support for all of the hours and hours of free content on the channel for nothing more than $1. 38 cents goes to Patreon. What's $1.38, eh? It's less than a cup of coffee, but it's a great way that you can show support for very little effort. When you divide that $1.38 by the hours and hours and hours of time spent listening to this endless drivel of content, the dollar cost average works out. Next up is the YouTube Casualty for $6.66. The YouTube Casualty is loaded to the gills. Enjoy the archive ad-free, as well as ad-free early access to special docu-style podcast videos, music reaction commentaries, and the like, a month before they drop on YouTube, loaded with ads, I might add. You're also going to get exclusive content and behind-the-scenes content that is not available on YouTube or anywhere else. So you get to peek behind the veil. And believe me, there's a couple of choice pieces. Most of all, more than anything, whether you join the Patreon or not, I just want to thank each and every one of you that comes to the channel, that watches all the shows, that leaves comments, that participates, that subscribes. That's really the most important thing. This is just trying to find a way to earn a living as an artist. And with that, thank you for my TED Talk. Join the Patreon, because we need you!
66 cents.
Hey now, okay, we're back. And as you can see, I'm actually leaning back a little bit because I'm kind of a lazy motherfucker tonight. What can I say? But that's okay. What can I say? All right. Invasion of the Body Snatchers, 1978. Now, there have been 4 Invasion of the Body Snatchers movies. It's kind of amazing that this movie has been remade as many times as it has. I suppose you could probably remake this movie for every decade. The first one was from the 50s. And, you know, it's sort of explored themes because all horror is political in some way, shape, or form. The original Invasion of the Body Snatchers is sort of exploring themes of the Red Menace invading our democracy, right? Like that's the whole point of that, or at least that's what they always say. That's what all these critics and analysts and film people will always say that about that movie. And it's there, but you could definitely go deeper. And I do feel like they go deeper in this film, which is the remake, the first official remake, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, directed by Philip Kaufman. The seed is planted, terror grows. The residents of San Francisco are becoming drone-like shadows of their former selves. As the phenomenon spreads, 2 Department of Health workers uncover the horrifying truth. And this is the first example of a remake just exceeding the original in every way. Like, the original is still a great film, don't get me wrong. Kevin McCarthy is great. And Kevin McCarthy has a cameo basically reprising his role from the original film, effectively turning Invasion of the Body Snatchers 78 into an almost sequel. Whereas, what's happened to Kevin McCarthy was actually happening somewhere else, and it's not a happy ending, right? Because there's sort of a happy ending at the end of the original Body Snatchers, where the government becomes aware and they're going to try and do something about it and everything is going to be okay. But this movie has a much more bleak reality to it, whereas it is absolutely the end of the world. It's absolutely the end of human life on this planet. And just this movie doesn't have a bad frame in it from top to bottom. You have a cameo from Leonard Nimoy is in it. Jeff Goldblum is in it. You have the absolute delicious Brooke Adams. She is such a fucking foxy babe. I'm sorry. I just have to admit it. She's gorgeous, 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 gorgeous in this movie. And her and Donald Sutherland, who is the hero of the story or the main character of the story, there's clearly some sort of unspoken, even though she's with some other guy, Jeffrey, there is absolutely an unspoken attraction between them. And as they are losing their grip on humanity, they confess their love for one another. And it's actually kind of beautiful. It's sort of like this last grasp at rebellion. You know what I mean? As they're trying to rebel from the conformity. And that's another theme. There's a lot of themes in the sequel that I think are there in the original, but really sort of extrapolated on in the sequel. This idea of, and really that are very contemporary to today. I think about groupthink. Groupthink has become very dangerous today, and everybody just sort of hopping on a bandwagon and becoming a pod person in one way or another. Nobody thinks individually anymore. Individual thought is sort of shunned. There's no nuance. There's no gray zone. Everything is just, black, white, binary, right, wrong, good, bad, evil, not evil. And I think that that's represented, like the anxiety of running away from everyone being assimilated into this unknown threat is anxiety producing. And it's a great movie. I could sit and tell you about the plot points beat by beat, but suffice it to say, what's interesting in this one versus the original, you don't really ever see what happens to the human bodies in the original, but in this one, we see that your human form kind of like disintegrates and you get thrown out by the garbage and sanitation. You see these husks. And then you don't find out until later that it's actually people. They're the husks of people. And it's like what is that saying about like lose the loss of humanity, as well as like this like fighting the idea that assimilation is a good thing and that there's no more pain or suffering, but there's also no love, right? There's no humanity anymore. And, is this better than humanity or is it not? And they show you right up front how the pod people, it shows you right up front how they do what they do. And then it's just a matter of watching society slowly break down. And you're just watching these people, try to hold out. And Veronica Cartwright, she's in She's in Alien, which she starred in the very next year. She's in that movie. She's in this movie as well. She plays Jeff Goldblum's husband in this film. Jeff Goldblum sacrifices himself at one point. And, basically you can't go to sleep. And that's the other thing, too. It's what makes the movie so scary. There's like a genuine terror in watching this movie because if you fall asleep, you lose every sense of your true identity. Your identity is taken from you and you become this copy of what you once were, and just sort of like hold out and fight back and, not succeed and the movie ends, the ending is right up there with like Planet of the Apes. I have to imagine if you watched this movie in the theater and saw that ending, it must have just sent a shiver up your spine. It's a total trick when she, they have this methodology where if they don't show emotion, then they can kind of hide amongst the pod people. And so Veronica Cartwright's character thinks that, she spots Donald Sutherland walking at the very end, and we see that all the emotion, all of the relationship between her and Brooke Adams is gone now, once she became a pod person as well. And that society really has been drained of all emotion and love, because isn't that like one of the cornerstones of humanity is love? So to remove that is to remove humanity. So no matter what the pod people think that they're doing in sort of, improving society and creating a utopia where there's no war or crime or famine, they're also doing so in a way that it destroys the very identity of who we are as people, right? And so at the very end, we see that she's still herself, and she turns to Donald Sutherland, and Donald Sutherland, what's his name in this movie? I forget. I think Steven or something. Sorry, he's Matthew, and she is Nancy, Veronica Cartwright. Yeah, Leonard Nimoy's great. Dr. Kibner. Nancy walks up to Matthew, played by Donald Sutherland, and he's a pod person, and it's just so terrifying. And then the movie ends. Fun fact: I didn't realize this. The homeless man playing the banjo with the dog, that banjo playing and that singing is actually done by Jerry Garcia, uncredited. And of course, this movie took place in San Francisco, right? Well, I don't know if the Dead were still stationed in San Francisco. I guess maybe they were, but I think that I did not know that about that cameo. In any case, if you have not seen this movie, it is one of the great remakes. We talk about the golden trifecta in the 80s, and this is 78, so it's 2 years off, but it's sort of a sign of what's coming, right? And again, I know I said this in a previous episode, the other remakes, the Thing 82, The Fly 86, The Blob 88, Invaders from Mars 85, and Night of the Living Dead 1990, as well as Invasion of the Body Snatchers 78. Those are just truly the great remakes. Abe Ferreira, he remade the movie in 93, which I had always seen in the video store, but had never actually watched until recently. It's okay. It's not bad. And then Invaders, or just The Invasion it's called, came out in 2008. And that was interesting because it involved the pod people would spit in your coffee. And it starred Nicole Kidman. I remember they defeated the pod people in that one. That was okay. I watched it actually because I heard that they spit in the coffee. And I was like, I got to know more about that. Why did they spit in the coffee? So I went and I watched it. It was okay. It was okay. I still think if I have to rank them, by far it's Invasion 78, followed by Invasion 56, and then Invasion 93, and then The Invasion 2008. That is my official ranking. See this film if you have not watched it. It is absolutely a masterpiece. Okay, up next, we have Cellar Dweller, baby. Cellar Dweller. This is another short. This is only 78 minutes. You just can't go wrong. It's an Empire film. If you're not familiar with Empire, the brand Empire, before Charles Band and his band of filmmaking brothers and family and whatnot, there's a few different bands. Charles Band had a imprint, whatever, a production company. He had a label, if you will, whatever you want to call it, called Empire Pictures. Empire Pictures was responsible for Reanimator, Dolls. It's funny. Charles Band actually collaborated a lot with Stuart Gordon, Brian Usna, and the like, and Dennis Paoli in the creation of their films. So I don't know if From Beyond is an Empire film, but I do know that Reanimator is. And Jeffrey Combs is in a lot of Empire Pictures, man, including this one, which I didn't realize. So it was a welcome treat to see that Jeffrey Combs was in Cellar Dweller from 1987, directed by John Carl Belchler. It'll Eat You Out of House and Home. In the 1950s, a horror comic in the 1950s, a horror comic artist's creations come alive and kill him. And that's the character played by Jeffrey Combs. Years later, a new cartoonist revives the creatures in his house, now part of an artist colony. It's a very strange idea. We don't typically think of artist colonies, especially today. And so the guy in this movie, what's his name? It's not him. I guess it's Brian. Yeah. So Brian Robbins, if I'm thinking of the right guy here, let's see. Brian Robbins, is that him? Yeah, that's the guy. This guy was also in Chud 2 Bud the Chud, which I think we reviewed last year. He played Steve Williams. He plays the guy who becomes the Chud at the end of the movie. But he's also in Cellar Dweller. And I had never seen him in anything else. But when I saw that he was in this, I was like, okay. And he plays like kind of like a goofy character. This is really beautiful artist lady. I guess that's Whitney Taylor, right? And Jeffrey Combs plays, Colin Childress. And yeah, so it's like this artist colony, and this guy colony creates this creature character, comic character called Cellar Dweller. They don't really explain very well. I guess there's a witch and there's some witchcraft, and that's what brings this character to life. And the character basically knocks off all the artists in the artist colony. It's very well done. The special effects are incredible, just beautiful late 80s creature special effects. You can tell they actually put a bunch of money into this monster. It wasn't just some puppet like all the Full Moon movies that would come a little bit later. Although I think Empire overlaps with Full Moon. It has to, right? Because the first Puppet Master definitely came out in the late 80s, right? And that was a Full Moon movie. I don't know how to deviate which is which, right? A lot of Stuart Gordon films were made through Empire Pictures. Yeah, and in fact, it's Charles Band's brother who does the opening theme score for Reanimator, which sounds very similar. It's very close in style to the score from Psycho when what's-her-face is driving, when Janet Leigh is driving to the hotel. That's the Psycho score. I love that opening theme music to Reanimator. The opening shot of this movie is an homage to Reanimator. You have Jeffrey Combs sitting in a white lab coat drawing. It's very reminiscent of it's very reminiscent of when he decapitates Dr. Carl Hill, and Hill comes back as a severed head and knocks him out and steals the reagent and whatnot. Just talking about Reanimator makes me want to watch it. It's been a minute since I've seen it. I think I last watched Reanimator when Stuart Gordon died back in 2020. And I watched it in his honor. In fact, it was at the very beginning of when I started live streaming. I was doing Facebook Lives where I was watching two movies at the same time. I'm the only person in the world that has watched Grease 2 and The Greasy Strangler at the exact same time live on the internet. There's nobody else in the history of humankind who has done that very random thing. I feel confident enough in saying that. I don't know what that has to do with Cellar Dweller. Cellar Dweller's fun, man. It's just fun. This is a movie that you want to watch with friends, gathered around a nice hot pie of pizza, some ice cold Coke, telling jokes, having fun. And yeah, the monster goes around stalking everybody. It eats people. There are some really sort of cheesy, there's some cheesy camera work here. Some of it doesn't really make sense. The movie sort of tricks you a little bit. At the end, we're tricked into believing that there's a happy ending because all of the people somehow get restored after being consumed by the monster, and then somehow the monster gets resurrected and everybody gets set on fire. I'm not kidding. Everybody gets set on fire and everybody dies, and the monster wins at the very end. And like you get this psych out in like the last 5 minutes. So she like brings everybody back from the brink of death, and then just somehow, I don't know, like somehow it just reverses and it ends. And I definitely would rewatch Cellar Dweller. Had I seen this growing up, I think this is a movie that would have had some great rewatch value. There's some really quirky, weird stuff with the artist colony. There's like this woman, and she's like, you know, she turns out to be this witch, but like she's like the headmaster of this artist colony, but like all these people are like old, and they all just sort of like they're living, their vocation is being at this artist colony doing weird conceptual art, and they perform for each other, and it's so great. It's so great. It's the type of thing that I wish that I had thought that I would write. I would write something like that. Yeah, I can't say enough good things about Cellar Dweller. Definitely watch it. Definitely check it out. It's streaming on Amazon Prime just for Combs alone, right? You can't go without the Combs. Ben gives us some skulls. Thank you. Sarah says, an alleged doctor told me not to read H.P. Lovecraft because it's too occult, and I'm still offended. Sarah, you should definitely should be reading H.P. Lovecraft. Super important work. Great work. Can't go wrong. Okay. We're getting there slowly but surely. Up next, we have I Know What You Did Last Summer, but it's not I Know What You Did Last Summer, and it's not I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, and it's not I'll Always Know What You Did Last Summer. It is I Know What You Did Last Summer. This movie came out in 2025. It is a legacy sequel to the original I Know What You Did Last Summer, and that's like a thing. We get, you know, I would say in the last 10 years, we have gotten into this habit of legacy sequels where we get sequels to movies that came out 30 or even 40 years ago, and we just get new films. And, you know, consequently, some of them are actually really good. One that I'm thinking of particularly is Trainspotting 2 is a great sort of like end cap for Trainspotting. And yeah, there are a few others I think that maybe they work, and there are plenty of movies out there that I think could absolutely have legacy sequels. I don't see why they shouldn't have legacy sequels. And yeah, I Know What You Did Last Summer. You know, we get they bring back Jennifer Love Hewitt and Freddie Prinze Jr., which is great. The two survivors from the duology, as I would consider it. The I Know What You Did Last Summer, which was written by Kevin Williamson, was sort of like an attempt to cash in on Scream, like the Scream craze and like the teen slasher 90s resurgence that we got, which was always kind of like giallo, you know, like based around like a whodunit, who's the killer, and we don't find out until the very end. And the truth of the matter is there is a Scooby-Doo element to these movies from the 90s and to this movie. There's like a Scooby-Doo aspect to them. And a lot of people particularly talk about Scream 3 in that way. They're like, oh yeah, Scream 3, it's like Scooby-Doo. But like Scream is also like Scooby-Doo. Scream 2 is like Scooby-Doo. You know, the original I Know What You Did Last Summer is like Scooby-Doo. I think it's just kind of, it's like, it's intrinsic to what the genre is all about. I thought this was actually a really good legacy sequel. I did not care about any of the kids at all. I guess I didn't even really care about Jennifer Love Hewitt. I don't know what I cared about. I just enjoyed watching it. They sort of build on what had previously happened, and that's what made it interesting to me. That by bringing them back, like if it was just a bunch of kids without the OGs, it would have been kind of whack. They even found a way to bring back. They brought back Sarah Michelle Gellar for sort of like this weird nightmare sequence. But yeah, Ray, that's the name of the guy. That's the name of Freddie Prinze Jr.'s character. And we find out that Ray and what's her name, Julie James. We find out that Ray and Julie did get married, and then they got divorced. And we don't know why, and it doesn't really ever tell us why, and we don't really need to know why. It's not really important. It does kind of sort of limp along the same pathway that Scream 5 does. It's the same thing. Dewey and Gail are divorced in that movie, and here these guys are divorced. And, I don't know. I don't know. I at first I was bored to tears, and I was rolling my eyes over, what was going on. And then I started to get more interested in it. And I was thinking in my head, I was like, who could possibly be, because they really closed the loop, and I still know what you did last summer. Who could possibly be the killer? What possible reason? And that's frankly a problem that the Scream franchise has, right? They keep killing the killers, and then they have to figure out these weird ways to have Ghostface come back. And it jumped the shark a long time ago. It really jumped the shark after 3. Scream 3 was the last time that it really worked for me personally. And even Scream 2 was kind of goofy. Billy's mom, and then Sydney's half brother, that was kind of goofy. The thing that they should have done, and the thing that I know what you did last summer, I guess should have done, or in general, is that when you have these slashers and you want to keep the franchise going and growing, you need to keep them intact. They have to be the main characters. You can't kill them off. It's so weird. Horror audiences want you to kill off the villain, but they want them to always come back so they can always have another movie and go through that experience. And you just can't have your cake and eat it too in both ways. So I'm sitting here watching. I know what you did last summer, the remake. And again, I could not give a fuck about any of these kids. I just did not care. And, they're getting picked off one by one, and I'm just rolling my eyes. I'm more interested to see how Julie James and Ray are going to come back, or going to come into the narrative. And to me, it seemed they were alluding that it was going to be one thing. And so I started to get really, really interested. In terms of who the killer was, they started to allude to who the killer was going to be. And I was thinking, oh my God, if they go in that direction, that would be amazing. To me, I thought the whole town was going to be in on it. That's what I thought, because the town sort of died after the events of 1997 when there were all these killings. And to bring tourism back, they had to do something to bring tourism back, or they were able to get tourism back. Now that tourism is back, they need to do anything they can to protect the tourism. And so I think that it would have been really interesting to just have the whole town be in on it, have the mayor and the sheriff and all these people sort of bringing this ghost back in order to do whatever it is that they needed to do to keep the town intact. That would have been interesting to me. That's not what happened. It ended up being a really sort of cardboard cliche need for revenge. And then the movie does something that is both super ballsy and super frustrating all at the same time. I have immense respect for this movie because it just takes a really ballsy swing. And it did not ultimately land for me. And I want to explain why that is, but it didn't ultimately land for me. It did not work. So as it turns out, this is a big spoiler. Do not listen to me any further. If you were going to watch this movie, just pause this for a minute and wait and come back if you want, or, whatever. Just hold off on watching this. So, spoiler, I'm making it sound like it's a big important thing when it's not. The spoiler is Ray, played by Freddie Prinze Jr., turns out to be one of the killers. And the other killer is just some newbie girl. And he decides that he's going to help her. And his whole motive is that, you know, trauma changes you and causes you to cope with things in a certain way. It just, like, it was super ballsy. I respect the attempt. It did not work for me at all. The reason why is that when you do something like that, when you kill off Dewey, when you kill off a legacy character, when you do something, when you turn a legacy character into this like really irredeemable thing, how about this? When you contaminate a legacy character, you sort of destroy everything that came before it. And I think, frankly, I feel frankly that that's true for Luke Skywalker, man, in The Last Jedi. Like, the way that they sort of decided to take that character, it really affects, I mean, unless you just don't count those movies, which a lot of people don't, but it affects it, man. It affects what came before it. Sort of every time you watch Return of the Jedi and you think about The Last Jedi, you're like, oh, well, he's going to just eventually become a hermit and then evaporate and just be totally cynical and whatever, you know? And so it kind of undoes everything, you know? There are some things that need to be left alone. Making Rey into the killer was cool because it was like, man, we don't see that. It was unexpected. It made me feel a certain way. I felt a little disappointed. There are just some like things you just like, there are some things that become untouchable once they've been sort of canonized. He survived in the second film and therefore he shouldn't have been killed or become a murderer. When you go back and you watch the original, I Know What You Did Last Summer, all you can think about is, well, Rey is going to follow in the footsteps of this fisherman killer. That's fucking weird. It's the same thing with Dewey dying. It's like you go back and you rewatch Scream 2 or Scream and Dewey always survives. And you're like, well, eventually he's going to die. In the fifth one, he's going to die. You know what I mean? It kind of just unravels everything. And so I appreciated that they took that swing because they wanted to do something different. They wanted to surprise people, and they did. They surprised me. They didn't surprise me. Well, I saw that there was 17 minutes left, and I was going, uh-oh, this isn't over. Who's going to be the killer? And then they just decided it was Rey. I'm sure there's people out there who are like, that was fucking lazy. Fuck them. You know, there's definitely that contingent. I personally didn't feel that way. I see it as like, hey, here's this, like, nobody's asking for a legacy sequel to I Know What You Did Last Summer, right? And, you know, how are we going to do something interesting and fresh? What are we going to do that makes things different than other slasher films? Because I think it's funny, the slasher genre is one of those genres that is trying to reinvent itself as fast as it's trying to run away from becoming a cliche. So the farther it moves in this direction of reinvention, very close behind it is sort of like cliche. Everything becomes a cliche so quickly. It's not easy. I wish that Rey had just stayed, you know, as a protagonist from the original movies. I wish he was not. I mean, the two things you can't do to a legacy character. You can't turn them evil and you can't kill them. You just can't do it, man. I don't know. I just think it kind of, because it really does ruin everything. You got to find a better way. You got to find a different way. Is this movie worth your time? Yes, I think so. I say that for every movie, whether it truly is or not. I didn't like what happened with Jennifer Love Hewitt's character, though. You know, I don't know, man. And it's kind of like, it's hard. It's like, how do you do that after you did that with Sidney Prescott so many times? You know, I did a whole video like, Sidney Prescott, she should have been carrying a gun by Scream 3. You would think that Sidney Prescott, I mean, she did have a gun, but she didn't carry it on her at all times. By Scream 4, you would think she'd be armed to the teeth like Rambo, you know, and now she's going to be in Scream 7. And I don't know, is it still, are they honoring the entire continuity, or is it sort of like a Halloween 2018 situation? I don't know. Kind of crazy to imagine that Halloween 2018 was 7 years ago, but it was. I really got to move on because we have more movies to watch. Okay. So this next one, this is going to be a twofer here. We're going to do a twofer for my next film, as well as the last film I watched, The Hand That Rocks the Cradle from 1992, directed by Curtis Hanson. Trust is her weapon, innocence her opportunity, revenge her only desire. A suburban family chooses seemingly sweet Peyton Flanders as their newborn's nanny. Only much later does the infant's mother, Claire Bartel, realize that Peyton's true intentions to destroy Claire and replace her in the family. The nail-biting suspense builds quickly in this chilling psychological thriller about deception and bitter revenge. I mean, that is accurate, man. That is absolutely accurate. It's, you know, it's a suspense film. It's a psychological thriller. I really enjoyed this. The synopsis, I guess this is a pretty iconic film, and I had just never seen it. I think I had heard the title. Ernie Hudson plays someone who clearly is neurodivergent in some way, is, you know, or, you know, they would say he's mentally handicapped, I guess, in some way. Maybe back in the 90s, that's how you refer to him. And he's with this sort of like work program for people who are mentally handicapped, and he befriends the family. And Annabella Scoria or whatever, she plays Claire Bartel, and she is a total fox. And she plays Tony Soprano's Guma in The Sopranos, right? And she also plays the younger sister of Sylvester Stallone in Tulsa King. How about that? And then everybody always talks about Rebecca De Mornay. She's Mrs. Mott / Peyton Flanders, and she's very much the single white female / Basic Instinct. You know, that was like a trend, right? Like unhinged female antagonists was a big trend in the early 90s. And then, of course, you have Matt McCoy, who plays Michael Bartel, and that's the guy from motherfucking Seinfeld selling computers in George Costanza's dad's garage. Insanity now, serenity now, insanity later. His phone wasn't even plugged in, so it was weird to see him with like a jet black beard. And there's a lot of weird sort of angular acting. Julianne Moore is so foxy in this movie. She is so foxy, and she plays Marianne Craven, and she's the best friend. She's the best friend of the husband. They used to be lovers. Yeah, there's a lot of psychological suspense in this film. In fact, it kind of reminds me very much of what Wash Away. I wrote a movie called Wash Away, and it was very similar, has a lot of similar premise to what goes on in here. The kernel of my film that's similar to this film is the idea of seeking revenge against someone who doesn't know that they've wronged you in some way, and that they're basically trying to get revenge on you. And that is at the core of The Hand That Rocks the Cradle. And we know very, very early on that she's looking to seek revenge. It's a very straight line. We see the inciting event, and we watch all of the circumstances that lead Mrs. Mott to down her road of revenge, right? And it's just, the best way to describe it is insidious. I would also put William Friedkin's The Guardian in a double feature with The Hand That Rocks the Cradle. There's a lot of little overlap right there. And then because I watched the original, I had to watch the reimagining remake that came out in 2025, directed by Michelle Garza Cervera. Good help is hard to find. Suburban couple, Caitlin and Miguel, hire seemingly sweet Polly to take care of their newborn baby, but Polly's true motives have little to do with singing lullabies. I think this is the superior film. They're both great, but I loved the framing. They sort of restructured the whole film. You know, this is a great example of taking something that has a really interesting premise and then just remolding it with better storytelling sensibilities. And in this movie, we're sort of shown, we see how Polly becomes the caretaker in this household, and we're slowly, the relationship between Caitlin and Polly is revealed through really well done expositional dialogue, like superb. Nothing is spoon-fed. Nothing is on the nose. Nothing. You're not hit over the head with anything. It's just really, really superb, really well done. And slowly we learn more and more and more about how these two people are linked, and we're given little slivers until finally we get the whole enchilada at the end. And so there's a lot of little inversions, you know, a little bit here, a little bit there. The first movie is really all about Peyton is really trying to replace what's-her-face in the movie. And this one, the remake, is more about just fucking with Caitlin. And her motive, she says, hey, I want to fuck your husband and replace you in this family. But I get, you know, it's like, I feel like she's saying it, but we don't really see that. We don't really see her like developing a relationship with Miguel in the same way that Peyton in the original, in the 1992 version, develops a relationship with Michael. We could see that Michael really desires Peyton in the original. And in this movie, that's like non-existent. So I would say that this version, the 2025 version, has way more, it's way more interesting in its storytelling, but the original sort of focuses, and the character, Ernie Hudson's character, is completely written out of this version and the sequel. And the sequel is, the remake. The remake is a lot more twisted. The original, that there's like just a series of unfortunate events that lead to Peyton blaming Caitlin for, not Caitlin, what the fuck's her name? Is her name Caitlin in the original too? Her name is Claire. That lead her to blame Claire. And there are some really almost like omanish or exorcist sort of setups of like, you know, this glass house, this greenhouse shatters and kills Julianne Moore in this really, really gruesome way. And we get a similar gruesome death in the remake as well, although it feels a little bit more ham-fisted than in the original. The original, it's way, I don't know, it's meaner. Both movies are very, very good. I would definitely watch them both. You want to watch the original first for sure. But like I said, the biggest difference I think between the two, besides like, you know, the fact that one came out 33 years later, 33 years later, is that the way that they unravel the story. In the original, it's just very straightforward. And in this version, they really bury it. They bury it and slowly reveal it. And that, to me, that's always going to be more interesting. And I always commend movies that take that point of view. In fact, you know, if you take any movie and you sort of go and re-edit the movie in your head and you go, oh, I wish the movie started here and then this came back as a flashback. I mean, when you look at Quentin Tarantino movies that do that and are lauded for being brilliant, and you realize that all he's done is just chopped up the narrative, right? Like if you were to put all of Pulp Fiction in order, it'd still be an interesting, good movie, but it wouldn't have the same kind of impact as it does by sort of cutting everything up. And I think the same is true for Kill Bill as well. That's just the way it is. Okay. Up next, we have Solvent by Johannes. Oh, Johannes, I am so sorry. I am going to butcher your name. He made a film called Masking Threshold that came out in 2021. I saw it at the Alamo Draft House, and it was really, really interesting. He likes to do these movies. Solvent is very similar to Masking Threshold in the sense that they're like these first person eyewitness POV narratives is what they are. You know what I mean? And I like that. I like that a lot about them. He has a very, I don't know how do you describe it. There's like a lot of detail in his style, a lot of like meticulous detail in all the frames. And I think that with both movies, Solvent and Masking Threshold, it's kind of like a frog in a boiling pot of water sort of situation, and you don't realize how crazy things are getting until they get really crazy. Solvent, the past is never silent. While searching for Nazi documents in an Austrian farmhouse, a team of experts uncovers a hidden secret buried in its bowels. American expatriate Gunnar S. Holbrook becomes obsessed with solving the mystery, and as his sanity wanes, he must confront an insatiable evil. I really like this movie a lot. I really like what it was doing. It's sort of doing a little bit of a found footage thing. Like I said, it's like a first person narrative, like eyewitness narrative POV thing that Masking Threshold was doing. But it frames it all in sort of like, it frames it all from like a GoPro on top of the main character's head. We never see the main character, Gunnar. We never see him all the way through. And, you know, we kind of learn things about Gunnar and realize that he's not, I don't know, he doesn't seem exactly like a reliable narrator. In fact, he's quite an unreliable narrator, I would say, in a little bit. And he just basically kind of slowly loses his mind as he is hunting for this Nazi soldier who, I don't even know. Okay, big spoiler. If you haven't watched this, or if you haven't watched this yet, turn this off and go watch it, and then come back and watch the rest of this. Now you've been forewarned. He basically finds out that this Nazi that he's been looking for figured out a way to crack immortality by turning into like sludge and slime and living in like the pipes and sewers. And, you know, obviously there is a lot of metaphor there. There's a lot of metaphor. I mean, forget about the fact that you're like burying like the shame and trauma of your nationhood, right? I know that a lot of Germans and Austrians feel a certain way about, you know, the past history of their country. And so to me, this felt like that's what this movie was really about. This movie was about sort of the trauma and the sort of like national PTSD of like the atrocities that people used to commit who, you know, lived here or lived there. And so it's not really about the Holocaust, but the Holocaust and what happened to the Jews is always kind of looming in the background, as is sort of like the Nazi element. It's always like just under the surface, which is very sort of apropos for what this movie is. There's a pipe, and the pipe leads down in the sewers, and there's a lot of weird camera work here and crazy sound design. The sound design is so insane on this movie. The editing is insane as well. There's a lot of like mixed media in the movie, a lot of archival footage and photos, and the photos are the actual grandfather of the director, Johannes. And sorry if I'm butchering your name, Johannes. I don't know, like, you know, I don't know how much of this was real and how much it wasn't, you know, like it seems the space that they shot in seems so real to me, man. If you go into the credits, in the very end credits, he had asked his grandfather for permission to, you know, use him in a story, and that if he was going to do it, the grandfather was like, that's great, but if you're going to do it, I forgot what he said, if you're going to do it, tell the truth or something, or make it, you know, interesting. I forgot what he said exactly, what his grandfather said exactly. I kind of made me wonder, what was his grandfather Was his grandfather involved in any of that stuff, like actual stuff? Right? How many of those documents are real? You have to imagine, that a lot of people's grandparents did, and if his grandfather was not involved with that stuff, my apologies. I just got the feeling, I got the sense that space felt very real to me. It felt very sort of lived in, you know what I mean? And like, that's a type of production value you can't really replicate. That kind of production value, you know what I'm saying? You just can't. So that's why I'm saying it comes from, and it was a mirror for me because I put my own grandmother in movies, and even when I would film at Dave Street's house, that was just the nature of Dave Street's house. I didn't make it look that way; it just looked that way. So when I was watching this, I was kind of like, wow, he just had access to this space and like wrote this story around it. I wonder if the pipe was real or if that was just sort of like an implanted prop. There's a lot of weird stuff with dicks in this movie. I know a lot of people who are in this movie, a lot of people. My friend Bob Rose has been on the show a bunch. Michael J. Epstein, Stephen Stull, who's been on the show in the past. Friggin' Jason Tostovan is in this movie. What's his face? Sky from The Greasy Strangler, who I met but don't really know, like I know the others. And so it was interesting to see all these people that I know and have interacted with as Nazis, like they're photographs of Nazis, which was kind of hilarious. It's funny to see like my friend Bob Rose holding a shotgun. Yeah, I guess I think Johannes, let me see if did he direct? No, I was wrong. I'm wrong. I thought he directed something else as well. Never mind. But yeah, dude, this was a very interesting movie, very unique film. Didn't go any of the places that I thought it was going to go, and it's a very visceral movie. It just, and suddenly he's sort of being possessed by the Nazi slime. I mean, it's literally Nazi slime in the ground, in the bowels of society, in the pipes. Like, the metaphor is really good. It's great. That was great. I really enjoyed that aspect of the movie. You really have to pay very close attention to everything that's going on, or you will miss something. I found myself rewinding several times to make sure that I kind of understood or felt that I was following along well enough with what was happening. But basically, this guy, he does a lot of like documentary work, but he also was a soldier, and they're tracking down this Nazi character, and Johannes plays the grandson, and you could tell that some of these photos look like Johannes himself. That's why I'm thinking, like, I wonder if the photos of his grandfather seems like he's wearing some Nazi shit. I don't know. Like, is that actually was his grandfather a Nazi at one point in time? I don't know. I feel bad even saying that, but there's so much of it seems so real to me. So I don't know. So to me, it almost felt like this guy, he's Austrian, and he's sort of making a movie that's a meditation on, like I said, the national trauma of his people at, what had gone on in World War II, and to me, it's a very, very valid form of artistic expression, because we always look at Nazis through the prism of, the Jewish framework of the Holocaust, or at least I do as a fucking Jew, right? But like, there's other aspects that I don't think are properly explored, I guess. I don't know. I would definitely check out Solvent. Definitely check it out. Highly recommend it. Interesting, original. Yeah. Up next, our last movie. It was technically not the last movie. The last movie was the remake of The Hand That Rocks the Cradle. We got here. So on Halloween night, after all of the festivities had concluded, I went with my neighbor and his brother-in-law to the Alamo Draft House at 10:30 at night. We finally got a showing of Frankenstein from Guillermo del Toro. So it's the brand new 2025 Frankenstein, one of my most anticipated films of the year. Dr. Victor Frankenstein, a brilliant but egotistical scientist, brings a creature to life in a monstrous experiment that ultimately leads to the undoing of both creator and his tragic creation. This was great, man. What a treat. I took a bunch of my kids' Halloween candy, although they did offer Halloween candy at the Alamo, which they had done. You know, I had seen Dead Alive on 35 millimeter and the brand new 4K restoration of Return of the Living Dead at the Alamo Draft House on Halloween night in 2016. That was fucking awesome. I don't think that this topped that. That was like pretty much one of the most ultimate Halloweens I'd ever experienced. It was really fucking cool. This was a pretty good Halloween though. And yeah, we went into it. I made sure I drank a lot of caffeine because I was feeling a little sleepy and I didn't want to miss what was going on in the movie. And yeah, it's a gothic masterpiece, man. You really can't see the I wasn't a big fan of the creature design personally. Like, it was kind of interesting. I loved a lot of the steampunk elements. I loved so much of the production design. It is meant to be seen on the big screen. You should absolutely go see it in the theater if it's playing near you. It wasn't playing near us, and then it was, and I was like, I just can't miss this. I can't miss this opportunity to see it in the theater. Oscar Isaac is great as Victor Frankenstein. Jacob Elordi, I think that's how you pronounce his name. He's great as the creature man. Lots and lots of pathos, lots of humanity, because that's the trick to Frankenstein and Frankenstein's creature, right? That's the ultimate sort of Beauty and the Beast version of, it's like, you know, all the Universal movies are Beauty and the Beast, right? That's the theme. But within that theme, the monster always has this beautiful sense of humanity, and the human is always a monster inside, right? Victor is the monster, the creature is human. And what's interesting is there's a weird sort of love triangle going on between Elizabeth, played by Mia Goth, and Victor Frankenstein's little brother, and the creature. So there's like three different lovers, not lovers, but whatever, sort of love interests for Elizabeth, right? And she's interested in the creature. I don't know if she's interested in him in a romantic way, but there's like this, most certainly a platonic love between them. And she does feel like a physical and emotional attraction to Victor. And she also recognizes the brother, the other brother, as like, you know, she recognizes the other brother as being better for her than, say, Victor, even though she's more attracted to Victor in that kind of way. The movie isn't super faithful to the book. You know, GDT, he takes his own liberties with it, and I was totally fine with that. I was down. I was going to go wherever this was going to go. It's quite gruesome. It's incredibly gory, incredibly graphic. The creature has the propensity for incredible violence. There were definitely, there were liberties that were taken. But I was fine with that. The movie's split up into two sections. You have the story from Victor's point of view, and then you have the story from the creature's point of view. I haven't read the book. I've never read Frankenstein. I have it upstairs, Frankenstein annotated. I really need to sit down and just fucking read it. It's my understanding that that's sort of how the book is structured as well. I didn't realize that, because I thought that was interesting. Now, there is one missed opportunity that I saw in this movie that just would have been so great had he chosen to go down this path, considering that they were deviating in certain areas. We see that Victor has a false leg, right? And I don't think in any other media I've ever seen Victor Frankenstein having a false leg. We don't know how how that leg went missing. We find out that it's from an explosion that he made on purpose in order to kill the monster, but ended up not only not killing the monster, but destroying his leg in the process, needing a prosthetic leg. And I thought it would be kind of interesting if the monster, the creature, comes to seek his revenge, and instead of killing Elizabeth like he does in the other one, or she dies accidentally by Victor's hand in this movie, but she always dies. Elizabeth always dies, right? Instead of killing Elizabeth, I think it would have been far more interesting for the creature to just exact his revenge in some way, shape, or form by reconvening with Victor. Every year he comes back to Victor, and that he just tears a piece off of him. Like he pulls off one of his legs, he pulls off a hand, he pulls off an ear, and Victor slowly replaces these parts with artificial parts. And it would just be kind of a weird, interesting mirror contrast of Victor slowly becoming less and less human physically, while the creature that was cobbled together in all sorts of ways, his humanity grows and grows and grows, even if he has a propensity for violence, which he feels that he must indulge in from time to time. And I mean, that just would have been that would have been really great. I would have really enjoyed seeing that. The movie ends with Victor apologizing to the creature, and the creature sort of forgiving Victor. And now the creature, he tells the creature, he's like, go, live your life, honor me by living your life. Just go out there and live your life. That's the meaning of life, something like that. And the creature is sort of unburdened now. He's at peace. He has catharsis from his master, and he just kind of walks into the sunset. I thought that was really nice. I thought that was a lot better than the way that Mary Shelley's Frankenstein ends from the 90s, where the creature lights himself on fire as he cremates his father, master. That feels a lot more pointless. I think there's a beauty in this creature being brought to life in the craziest of ways, and then going off and just living its life. It would have been kind of interesting if they had done sort of an epilogue in present day, and we see the creature in some way, shape, or form, and what he's sort of transformed from as a result of enduring, centuries of living. Because essentially the monster is, he cannot die, and that's a important feature. He's able to regenerate, and he's kind of indestructible, and it's never really explained why that is. It does work for me. I was okay with that. But in my mind, I feel like the creature has to be he's a little too powerful in this one. I mean, he's moving boats with his bare hands. Maybe he does that in the original novel. Like I said, I hadn't read the original novel. So maybe he does that in the original novel, and that's why they were doing that there. I did feel a great sort of sense of the AMC show called The Terror, which very much is reminiscent of the bookends between, what am I trying to say here? They sort of bookend each other. I think I'm falling asleep. I'm really tired. But yeah, I really enjoyed this one. I want to see him do them all. Let GDT have a stab at the Wolfman and the Dracula. He's already done the creature, right? He did the creature from the Black Lagoon as the Shape of Water. In fact, if I had any sort of change I would make, I almost don't want it to be Frankenstein. I almost kind of want him to tell the Frankenstein story in the same way that he told the creature from the Black Lagoon via the Shape of Water. It's not an exact one-for-one thing, but it would be very interesting if he had a trilogy of monster movies that were kind of his own, universal making. If he did his own version of the Wolfman, if he did his own, deconstruction via Shape of Water. and he did something along the lines for Frankenstein. I think that would be very interesting. Obviously, he's not going to do that now that he's told what is considered to be a de facto, straightforward telling of Frankenstein, even though it takes artistic liberties in a variety of ways. I don't think I could talk anymore. I'm exhausted, so I'm going to go. Thank you for joining me. We'll be back next year with another 31 days of Halloween. Please, I must apologize in advance. I'm going to be dropping a ton of these clips. I don't know why I do this. Not many people watch them. I just feel the urge and compulsion to do it. I mean, I guess it could just sit in these live streams, but that's just the way it is. Who fucking knows? In any case, peace, hair grease. We'll see you next time.